This time we will be needing something to put under your head, because we're not going to be lying on our backs, but rather we will be lying on the side. So if you need to, just pause and take a few moments to bring something under your head so that you can use it as some kind of a makeshift pillow. And you're trying to find this place where the pillow is not small enough that you feel your head tilting towards the ground, but it's not big enough so that you feel your head is getting over towards the ceiling. So you want to try to find a place that's comfortable and continuous for your spine. We usually prefer a towel or a blanket instead of a pillow that can be too fluffy. So now take a few moments to arrive on the floor. As always, to bring your awareness, bring your attention back to your body, to the way you touch the ground, your body print, your breath. And we will be turning now to lie on our right side. But if this is uncomfortable for you in any way, you can always turn to your left side and just do everything backwards. So now roll yourself to your right side, bending your knees and bringing your support under your head and your right hand in front of you, elbow bent. Just as you would lay on your bed, sleeping on your side. So you're not crouched, you're not rounding your back, not in a fetal position. Your spine is relatively straight. But you feel your support under your hand, so it's not leaning towards the ground, and you bend your knees just a bit in front of you to allow for a comfortable position, and you bring your left hand on your left hip. So it's long and it's resting. Your arm is resting on your ribs and your forearm on the side of your belly, and your palm is resting on your hip. And let's bring back this image of a clock, but this time this clock is a bit bigger. Its center is your shoulder, and the arms of the clock is your left arm. So now gently make a fist, soft fist with your left hand, elbow extended, and start tracing a circle with your left arm, as if it was an arm of a clock. So right in front of your chest would be 3, and up towards your head would be 12, and the back would be 9, and then towards your hip would be 6. And find this soft and easy movement of rolling your arm around, feeling your shoulder joints. Shoulder joints can be quite tricky to work with sometimes. So do not go where you feel stretching. Do not go where it feels painful, obviously, but not even stretching. Just go around as far as you feel that your shoulder joint is allowing for the movement and you feel it smooth. You feel the head of your humerus, of your arm bone, sliding and gliding inside the joint. We're trying to find room inside the joint. Where is it comfortable? Where is it sliding? Slow and easy. Now, again, I didn't specify the direction. Are you doing it clockwise or counterclockwise? What's interesting to notice is that, did you do it because since we're talking about a clock, you thought it was obvious that we're going to turn clockwise, or didn't you just not even think about it, or did you go the easy way first? Who knows, but let's find out what happens if you go the other direction now. What's your other? What's your second direction? Is it counterclockwise? Is it clockwise? Doing this second direction, is it giving you any hints about why you didn't choose it? Was it indeed a preference? Was the other way going easier? Or was it just a mental construct of, oh yes, clock means clockwise. So you chose what you thought was right, even though it didn't feel as good. Interesting questions. Again, slow and easy, and find around your clock, which are those numbers which go easily, slide, and which are those parts where you feel that you need more tension, maybe in your shoulder blade or your neck. As you turn your hand, pay attention to your neck. Is your neck soft all along, or do you feel there's part of that clock where you put tension in your neck for no reason? You could just allow for it to stay quiet. Now, the next time your hand comes down over your hip, let it rest there. So your forearm is on your sides and your hand is resting on your hip. And let's bring our attention now to our shoulder. So now very gently think of bringing your shoulder forward and back. From its center, just a bit forward and back. What does it mean to bring your shoulder forward? Could you sense your shoulder blade? Could you pay attention to the sliding movement of your shoulder blade? It slides from your center, your spine, out and up to allow your shoulder to come forward. So instead of thinking of this round part that is the top of your arm as your shoulder, could you for a few moments turn your attention to the sliding of your shoulder blade as you bring your arm forward and back? And as you do that, can you pay attention to what happens to your wrist and your hand? Are they coming along for their ride? Is your wrist still as you're turning your shoulder forward, or Do you feel your wrist moving a bit? And could you allow your arm to follow the movement and allow your elbow and wrist to roll a bit forward as well as your shoulder rolls forward, as your shoulder blade slides on your ribs. So your elbow is relatively straight, and in order to turn and bring your shoulder forward, you allow your wrist to turn and you allow your palm to turn upwards towards the ceiling as you go forward and back towards the ground. Not lifted, just rolling over your hip, gentle and easy. And let it go. And since you did that in front, let's find it going backwards now. Could you push your left shoulder back and feel the sliding of the shoulder blade towards the spine? And really concentrate in that movement of the shoulder blade. And as you find this sliding motion of the shoulder blade and making it smoother with every move, could you allow your wrist to roll backwards now? So again, your wrist rolls on your hip, allowing your hand to turn so that your palm looks upwards. Turning from your shoulder blade and your shoulder, turning your wrist and palm. And let it go. Third movement. Allow your shoulder to come up and down. Up towards your ear. So you're not lifting up towards the ceiling, but you're lifting up towards your ear. So again, these directions are relative. Are we talking in relation to our environment or in relation to ourselves? In Feldenkrais, usually we want to talk in relation to ourselves. So lift your shoulder up towards your ear and down. And as you go up and down, can you feel that your palm is gently following and allowing your arm to slide on your hip? And could you do the same movement, keeping your arm still? So you feel your palm touching your hip and you're only lifting and lowering your shoulder blade. You're sliding your shoulder blade up and down your back. And keeping your palm still. And then for a few moves, you allow the whole arm to follow the movement. So you feel your palm sliding over your hip. And let it go. Take your support from your head away and come back to lying on your back. For a few breaths, feel the right and the left shoulder blade and the way you support your weight. Is there a difference in the right and left shoulder blade? Is there a difference in the right and left shoulder? Even more peculiar, is there a difference from the left to the right side of your face? Your jaw and your lips and your cheeks, your eyes. And Bend your knees. Turn to your right side again. Bring your support under your head. Your right hand in front of you, knee, elbow bent. Just as before, you're lying on your right side and you begin to make a huge circle. You begin to turn with your left hand, elbow extended. Center of the clock is your shoulder, and then you allow your hand to come up overhead and back. Making a big circle with your arm now, and as you do, could you notice this soft fist you have again? Can you notice how you are turning? As you turn around in the clock, what happens in your wrist now? Can you feel that your wrist turns in order to make this clock movement easier for your arm? Could you allow now your shoulder blade to help you with the move? So as your arm comes forward in front of your belly and your chest, could you allow for your shoulder blade to slide more as if you were reaching? And as you go back, how is your wrist turning now? How is your shoulder blade going back, sliding towards your spine? So could you find a clearer motion of your shoulder blade to help you with this circling movement of the arm? Could you introduce more sliding of the shoulder blade as you go round with your arm? Now, the next time your hand comes down towards your hip, let it rest on your hip. And let's find another differentiation. And this time, we're going to allow our soft fist to open up. So you keep a straight palm and your fingers are always pointing. And begin now to turn your hand, this same big motion of your arm, but this time your fingers are straight and you feel how is your palm turning in order to help you do this big movement, in order to help you keep a straight arm for your clock. And you will notice that although you begin bringing your arm forward with your palm facing the ceiling, as you go backwards, you will feel the need for your wrist to turn and your palm to look towards the ceiling. And with your palm looking towards the ceiling, you come back until you find this moment forward where enough is enough for your hand and you want to turn it again with the palm looking towards the ground. So go really, really slow now. Because our point is not to do the circle. Our point is to find these edges of the movement when you feel that in order to continue the circle, it would be wise to allow your wrist to turn and your palm to look towards the ceiling or towards the ground. So find in this circle for you, where are those shifting movements? When the turning of the wrist allows you to seamlessly turn around your clock. And could you do that? Reversing the direction. So whether you were going clockwise or counterclockwise, can you find out what happens when you go in the other direction? Go slow and listen, and allow your turning wrist to help you with the movement. Find those changes, those moments in the clock, in the circle, where before straining, stretching, or any other sensation, you allow your wrist to turn and continue the movement smoothly and seamlessly. And the next time your arm is over your hip, let it rest on your hip. Take a breath to feel your shoulder and your shoulder blade. Take a moment to turn so you are resting on your back. Take your head support away so it doesn't feel that your head is forward as you lie on your back. Take a few breaths here. As movements get bigger, always remember to come back to that sensation in our first lesson, this or that. Subtle differences. So although we progressively go on to bigger movements like turning the arm around, a big movement for your shoulder, a tiring movement for your muscles. Do it only as long as it is easy and comfortable, as long as you can get information from the movement. Turn again to the right side, support underneath your head, just as before. This time, with your left hand resting on your left hip, we're gonna find a small pendulum movement. So imagine that your left arm is a pendulum. And very slowly and very gently, you start rocking it a bit forward and back. So it's by no means a full circle. It's not even half a circle. If it was a clock, it would be from 5 to 7, no more. And as you gently swing your arm now, feel what happens to your pelvis, your lower back, and your ribs. Do you feel a little bit of your ribs following along? What would you need to do in order to allow them to follow? Not rock them or roll them, just allow them to follow the swaying movement of the hand. What happens in your neck, in your head? Could you find a synchronicity now? So as your hand moves forward and you feel your ribs a bit rolling forward so that Your chest comes towards the ground. And then as your hand goes back, you roll on your ribs. Feel their roundness, and you roll back so that your chest looks a bit more towards the ceiling. And you're using this momentum brought to you by your left arm to gently roll a bit on the roundness of your ribs, of your right ribs. You can feel them touching the ground. Could you allow your head to follow? Could you allow your neck to soften? Could you allow your pendulum arm to roll a bit your hips, your lower back, and your chest? And as you do this pendulum swings, pay attention now to your breath. How are you breathing? Could you make your breath a bit bigger and a bit longer so that every exhale and every inhale encompasses a few movements? So as your hand swings forward, back, you inhale for a few moves, and then you start to exhale, and you exhale for a few moves, forward, back, forward, back. And as you breathe, as you inhale and exhale, and continue to allow your pendulum arm to rock from side to side, could you find if this movement is not inhibiting your breath in any way? So you feel the movement of the arm and you feel the gentle rolling of your ribs, and your breath comes in and out uninterrupted. You have to pay attention to the breath if you don't want it to follow a bit the movement. So you keep the movement, inhaling and exhaling as your arm swings, a few times for every inhale and a few times for every exhale. Your hand swings with momentum, your breath uninterrupted follows. Come back to the center, lying on your back, removing your head support for a few breaths. Feel yourself on the ground. The left and the right side. Is it different? The left and right side of your neck, the left and right side of your face. Do you need a few breaths to not pay attention and just let your awareness roam free? Last one. To your side. Support under your head. Same position. You roll your arm again in a clock. Do you feel your chest and your ribs following? As your hand comes over in front, do you feel your chest coming forward and rolling a bit towards the ground? As your hand comes back, do you feel your chest rolling towards the ceiling? Do you roll on your right side a bit more? Could you keep your neck soft and your head soft? And as your arm goes round now, do you feel more of yourself following it? Is it easier for your shoulder to go round? Can you allow your palm to turn towards the ceiling and towards the ground to make this movement easier for you. Change directions. Feel the rolling of the joints, the movement of the shoulder blade, the turning of the ribs on the floor. The next time your hand is near your hip, let it rest. Take a breath here, lying on your side. The first time I encountered this kind of lessons, and I felt progressively my shoulder moving more, I thought that, yeah, but isn't it cheating? It's not my shoulder that moves more, it's cheating. I'm moving my shoulder blade, I'm moving my ribs. Because in dancing and in movement in general, we're taught that way. And then I got to understand that, yeah, what is cheating? Does cheating mean being more coordinated? Of course, your shoulder blade will follow your arm. And of course, your ribs will follow the movement. And unfortunately, in dance and in sports, a lot of times we consider moving with coordination cheating, because we're trying for some reason to bring our joints into places where they shouldn't be, or they won't be for long if we continue to strain them. So last time, as you are on your side, start moving your arm, circling with your arm. But this time, let's add an idea to this movement. So can you think of your favorite thing, whether it's dancing or swimming, and bring now your arm around with intention. And allow your shoulder blade to follow, and allow your ribs to turn. And as your hand is whirling and circling like that, could you find the sensation in the shoulder where it's sliding and feeling good, uninterrupted? Can you allow the rest of yourself, your neck and your head to follow the movement? Can you find the sensation of sliding in the water or dancing away? Can you find the pleasure of the movement? Rolling the arm, turning the arm around, just to feel the sensation in your joints, in your breath, in yourself. And last time, come lying on your back. Take a few breaths to rest. Feeling the differences between your right and your left side. Keeping your attention in your arms and your shoulders. Take a few moments to come up. A few moments to walk around, still paying attention to the sensations. And when you're ready, let your attention roam again.